What was the best thing the quiet kid has said or done in class? Once it was right before winter break, and just as the bell was about to ring to end class, our teacher cut in with, "Oh, I forgot you have homework over the break." Everyone groaned, and even the quiet kid in the corner let out an "What an asshole." Well, teacher heard it and said, "What did you say?" to the kid. To his credit, he put his head up and loudly said, "What an asshole." We all started cracking up and the teacher's face turned so red. I caught up with the kid after the break and his excuse was, "The teacher already heard it anyway. I wasn't going to get away with it, so since he asked, I answered." Megaphone clicks. "How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison?" There was a guy named Phil in my high school psychology class who had pretty severe Asperger's. People were often mean to him because high school, but I genuinely liked him. And while he was very quiet when he did speak, I thought he was hilarious. One day, my teacher was jokingly giving me shit about protecting my sensitive information. I yelled out my social security number extremely quickly, almost in gibberish. Phil repeated it back verbatim and told me he was going to steal my identity. Then he put his cape on and ran out of the classroom. I hope Phil is doing well these days. He was awesome. Plot twist. He did steal your identity. You've been Phil this whole time. I was best friends with the quiet kid in high school. He spoke to me almost exclusively, and quietly enough that others rarely noticed. One day, the loud girl noticed. "Oh my God, he talks? I haven't heard you talk since 6th grade." Without looking at her, he leans in real close and whispers something to me. He says he only talks to interesting people. I always remember this. Partly for the ego boost he gave me, but also because of her reaction. "Screw you! I hope I don't hear you for another 4 years." No need to worry about that. Korean kid in Canada, socially awkward, didn't speak English very well, physically not coordinated, playing any sport, even running. That was until we were on a field trip and at lunch we went to a place with Dance Revolution. It was like the videos, playing on both pads, hands and railings, blasting the game to oblivion, setting high scores only to beat them. He had the entire leaderboard before we left. First time I saw him smile. One of the most impressive things I have ever seen. My friend decided he hated the quiet, weird kid. He wasn't super quiet, but he didn't have any friends. One day my friend kept throwing those tiny chips Ahoy cookies at the back of the quiet kid's head, who was sitting by himself at lunch. Quiet kid picked up one of the cookies, stood over my sitting friend, and smashed the shit out of the cookie on my friend's head. It was amazing. Edit. For those asking if we're still friends or why I was friends with someone like that, it was the first time my friend was being this way. It was off-putting to several people, and no, we aren't really friends anymore. Scene. Biology. Teacher. Now, even though clones are the same genetically, they may come out differently. If we clone James here, his clone might have more access to quiet kid, friends. Teacher doesn't even argue and just looks sadly at the kid. Not as extreme as others, but still completely unexpected. Not in school, but I teach middle to high school kids, 13 to 17, how to umpire baseball games. There was one kid, 13 years old, who was very quiet, reserved and shy, and I thought, this is not the vacation for him. A week later, I swing by the field to evaluate him and see if I can help him with anything. I arrived about 5 minutes after the game started, and I could hear loud, confident, and definitive calls coming from this kid. I was floored. His mom came up to me and said that becoming an umpire has completely changed his personality. This is such a happy little story. I'm so glad he found a hobby that helped him flourish. 7th grade, new kid named Nick started school halfway through the year. He sat next to me in English class and didn't say anything ever. One day, we were reading poems out loud and critiquing each other. One sorry fella read his, and every line started with, "If I was a bird. If I was a bird, I'd live in a tree. If I was a bird, I'd fly to school. If I was a bird." A few people offered polite criticism. The teacher called on Nick for his opinion and he said, "If I was a bird, I'd poop on all of you." He got kicked out of class and I still laugh every time I think about it. We became friends and he was actually a pretty nice guy. I think he just couldn't resist making that joke. What kind of teacher kicks people out for that? That's just fucking hilarious. That being said, maybe it made him even cooler among the other kids. There was a fly in the room. He threw his pencil straight up and fucking skewered the fly and the pencil got stuck in the ceiling. It was those really weak plaster tile things, but it was the coolest thing I ever seen. I wish I could go back in time and record it. I probably wouldn't believe this, but my brother hit a fly with a rubber band while it was flying. The chances are low. Must have been a really sharp pencil. He must have practiced. Good job, fly impaling kid. My friend was the quiet kid. In high school drafting class, back when drafting was done on paper, there was another kid harassing him from across the room. He took his T-square, about 2 feet long, made of wood, sharp edges, and whipped it across the room, hitting his harasser square on the side of the head. The resulting head wound required several stitches. I guess that set him straight. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with The Simpsons. And one day, I kept narrating everything in the Duffman voice. Duffman says, "Oh yeah," etc. Eventually, the quiet kid next to me stood up and screamed, "Shut the fuck up! I don't give a fuck what the Duffman says!" He got in trouble and I didn't, cause the teacher hadn't heard any of my Duffman quotes. I still think about him sometimes. I'm sorry, man. I was being so annoying and you didn't deserve to get in trouble.